Hello, welcome to today's One Card Wonder Wednesday for today, Wednesday, September 11th, 2019. I hope you are all having a great day. My day has been pretty good so far. We are going to use some paper from the Feels Like Frost suite in the holiday catalog. I have been using it a lot lately because I really love it, and because this card is so simple to make. And because we're going to use just this one sheet of 6x6 paper, we're going to do two cards today. We're going to do a birthday card and a super easy sympathy card. So first of all, I'm going to tell you how I cut my paper. I turned it around to the side and cut some off the top. And then I cut it, not down the center, but about 1/3 and 2/3. And I'll have all the measurements on my blog. But just so you know that it's a quick and easy way to cut this 6x6 Feels Like Frost paper to make more than one card out of it, but both cards turn out really gorgeous. So I've got all of my pieces here, and we're going to start with some gorgeous grape cardstock, and we're going to go ahead and fold that in half for the first card. This is for the birthday card. And then we have a piece of Whisper White, a piece of Highland Heather, and then our piece of Designer Series paper from the Feels Like Frost suite. And all we're going to do is we're going to layer these three together using some snail adhesive. Now I will say this Feels Like Frost Designer Series paper, sometimes if it has a lot of silver on the back, it doesn't like the snail adhesive. The silver will pull up. But now like this, where there's more white on the back of it, it works much better. So you don't have to worry too much about that silver peeling up and you not having any adhesive on the back of your paper when you're done, because it's all stuck to your snail adhesive on the roll. Go ahead and flip that piece over and do the same. Just go along the edge each side. We're going to adhere that to the Whisper White piece. That's going to be adhered to the front. And I did it off to the left side a little bit because I wanted my label to stick out here, and I can see I got my paper just a little bit long. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors. I don't know if you can see that, where the white is poking out a bit there, and I'm just going to go along, and it's a little thick because I got 3 layers there, so it takes a little bit of pushing when you're using the paper snips, just to trim that bottom edge off to make sure it's even. So now I have my happy, and I'm going to use, I'm going to use this, let's flip it around. Let's use the poker part of the Take Your Pick tool because that'll be easier. Because when I cut out happy, I still have all these little pieces stuck in there and I want those out. I'm just going to use my Take Your Pick tool to poke those out. Get rid of those. We still have one right there in that P. Got it. Poke those out, get those out of the way. It's nice that you have a cap for this so you don't stab yourself with it, because that's pretty hefty, that little piercing tool on the end of that. I'm going to take a piece of vellum, and let me find a piece of scrap vellum because I obviously didn't grab one. Here we go, got a piece of vellum right here. And we're going to use the Timeless Label Punch, and we're going to punch out a label. Just didn't want it to fly all over, and get our gorgeous grape ink. And we are going to stamp birthday on the bottom of this. And now after you stamp it, you've got to let it dry for a little bit. So I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and we'll get started on the second card. Just because I don't want to smudge it. And we're just going to set these pieces aside because we are almost done. We do need to do the inside. Let's do the inside first before we get started on the second card. Let's do the inside. And on the inside, I put celebrating another year of happiness, and I just put it at the top So you have the entire bottom portion of the inside to be able to write your own personal sentiment on. I'm not going to glue it in yet. I'm going to let that one dry as well. We'll set the birthday card aside. We'll come back to it when we get them, when we assemble them all at the same, get them all assembled at the end. So we'll do our sympathy card. Now I have a piece of Highland Heather for this one. And now I'm not sure why this color speaks to me as a sympathy color, but it does. It seems very soothing and relaxing. And especially this print right here, I don't know, it just speaks to me on that level. So again, just use some snail on the back because this is a good portion of this is white on the back. It's not mostly silver, so your snail will adhere really well to this. And then your piece of Whisper White is just slightly larger than your piece of Designer Series paper. So you're just going to have a tiny border. Go ahead and get some snail on the back of this Whisper White. Attach that to the front of our card. And again, you'll just have a skinny border. Go ahead and use your paper piercer again to poke out these little extra pieces from our word, sympathy. We've got a couple that are hanging on here. There we go. To get those off to the side. I'm first going to stamp all my, because I want it to say all my sympathy on the front. And I'm just going to stamp that right here, and then I'm going to take some Tombow glue, and I don't use a lot of it. It really doesn't take a lot, just some tiny little dots on your cutout sentiment, and if you get too much, it'll goo out everywhere, so you got to be careful about that. Kind of when you get them on there, spread it around a little bit, especially around the little tails, like with the Y's and the P's, and make sure you get it at the top of the T and the H. You're just going to lay that on your card, and then I always take a block to hold it down to make sure it dries. I'm trying to put the wrong cap on the Tombow glue. For the inside of this card, I have the sentiment, know that love, prayers, and caring surround you today. So we'll just get our piece of Whisper White for the inside. Ink that up with the Gorgeous Grape ink. I put it in the center of this one. And for some reason, I always get it a little bit crooked. Let's try one more time. Let's try the other side and see what happens. Maybe I won't get it crooked this time. Much better. Let that dry for just a second. We can close our ink up because we've stamped everything now. Go ahead and put snail on the back, and this won't show through because you're not doing white on white, or ran out of snail adhesive. Let me grab another one. Went to an event at my team leader's house, and it was a shoebox swap, so I used a lot of snail the other day. Didn't realize I used pretty much almost all of it. But what I was going to say is, because this is not white on white and this color is darker than white, this Highland Heather, what we stamped on the back is not going to show through onto the front of this. Now, if this was a white card, that would probably show through. But because we have a darker card for the background, it doesn't show through. So there's the sympathy card. Now we can finish this birthday card that we started. That was almost finished. Now see, this still isn't dry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a tiny bit of snail at the top of it, because you aren't going to see that because we're going to glue happy down. But what I would normally do is I would get my heat gun out and dry that if I wanted to make sure that it had to be dry by a certain time if I was making it and taking it at the same time. But since this will have time to dry before I give it out, I'm just going to let it air dry on its own. And sometimes that does take a while with stamping on the vellum, so just be aware of that. Definitely use your heat tool if you need to dry it. And again, not a lot of glue on the back of these letters, but just enough that they will stick really well. Flip them over. They're just going to be glued down, and do the same thing. Set that on there for just a second while we get some adhesive onto the back of the inside portion of our card. And I want to thank you for joining me today for my One Card Wonder Wednesday. I know I did not do it live, as today is a busy day and my husband and I are out and about shopping, so I had to make sure I got my video recorded early so I would be able to post it for you all. And I appreciate you watching, joining, reading my blog, all of those good things. And here are today's One Card Wonder Wednesday cards. More than one card this week. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this Feels Like Frost paper is super wonderful to use. If you want to purchase any of it, just go to valeriesmith.stampinup.net. If you need to read the blog post to get all of the measurements, go to stampinwithvalerie.com. I have a couple of different host codes going this month. One is just my regular host code, but one is for a Christmas to Go class. If you use the Christmas to Go class code and you spend over $35, you'll get a PDF showing you how to make 3 different Christmas cards. If you spend over $50 and you use that host code, you will get 3 of the actual cards in the mail from me, as well as the email PDF that you can print out for yourself. So I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and thank you for joining me. Bye.